Hello, heathens. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, buckle in, because today I'm going to have a bit of a moan. I'm not usually one to talk about stuff I don't like, because why waste your time on being negative? But I do have some books that I either wasn't necessarily a fan of, I may not be the audience for these, or I'm definitely not the audience for these. There's one or two that I would happily burn. And I don't say that easily. They really annoyed me. But other than that, it's just a little bit of a moan today about the books that I didn't like, that were my personal most disappointing, least favorite, worst books of the year. And if you like them, that's amazing. I love books that other people hate and vice versa. I think everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right? So, we have our tastes. We like what we like. Let's talk about these. So, I'm going to start with one that I think I mentioned before. This is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. Now, one of the most beautiful covers of the year, granted. And also the premise of this book about a guy whose family was cursed by the devil and he's trying to break this curse because the devil's coming to collect on his 30th birthday. All the characters are members of like magical society and there's like all sorts of kind of magic and curses and devils and things like that in here. Should have been amazing. Unfortunately, what I've realized with S.T. Gibson's books, and this one I would say is just a disappointment of the year. It's not an objectively bad book, and I think it definitely will have an audience, and there definitely will be people that like this. But S.T. Gibson doesn't go dark enough for me. Her premises, they always sound so good. Every single one of her books, I think, oh, that premise sounds amazing. And then I read it, and I'm just kind of left disappointed. And I always feel like I want to give S.T. Gibson's premises for her books, to Alexis Henderson or Ava Reed or Lyndall Clipstone, and I want them to write it, which I know is really mean, but I can't help myself. I get so disappointed. And there's a second book in this series coming out. Sounds great, but I know myself. I know I'm going to read it and go, meh. So yeah, this was a massive disappointment, but it is an absolutely beautiful cover. So it's one of those I'm dithering about getting rid of. Then another one. This is I don't know how I feel about it. Someone please help me. So this is Grimstone by Sophie Lark. And when I read this initially, I was like, oh no, this is not for me. This is dark romance, but there could have been, again, a bit like Evocation, there could have been a really cool plot in this book because it's set in this kind of creepy town of Grimstone. It's set around Halloween. There is a kind of a mystery element with a twist that I really liked. But for me, this book is like 20% plot, 80% smut. And it's like, yeah, but that's kind of boring. Like, I get it, but I wanted more of the storyline. And again, this one has a second book that's just come out. Looks amazing. Premise sounds really good. But I feel like I'm going to be stuck in the same situation where I felt like the plot was just there to kind of get to the next smutty scene. And that really irritated me. And even to the point where I was like skimming the spice. Like, I shouldn't be like going, oh god, another spice, okay, move on, I want to know what's happening in the plot. It just didn't, the ratio of spice to plot was completely off. And I have another Sophie Lark book, not in this series, but the was it the Saints and Sinners book about the serial killers? And again, that premise sounds so good, but now I'm dithering whether or not to read it. I might just try it because granted, they're very fast reads, but I was left so frustrated, ironically, by this book because the plot could have been great. Again, could we give this to Alexis Henderson to write? Because it would have been amazing. Basically, I just want to give all my books to Alexis Henderson to write. Then, one that I ended up DNFing, and I was really disappointed in, again, was How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I do think this has an audience, and I know there are some people that really like it. To me, I hated the way it started, and I am very much one of those people that if you do not grab me from the first page, from the first sentence, from the first chapter, it's tough to come back from that, right? I need something to pull me into the story straight away. And this one, the first chapter, was basically a woman just talking about her child and being pregnant and going baby shopping, and there is nothing that'll turn me off quicker than that, I'll tell you. It was just very boring. I was like, well, where are we going with this? What was this got to do with a haunted house? And then I felt like it was more about the familial drama between the brother and sister. So what happens in this book is that both parents die and they leave their house to their kids, a brother and a sister. And they end up basically fighting over who gets the house, because one of the parents left the house to one sibling and the other one left the house to the other sibling, but they die at the same time. And there's also this, so where the haunting I think kind of comes in, but I sort of DNF'd it just before that because I just could not read anymore, was that there's creepy puppets in this house. But what really irritated me and what made me DNF this book was the relationship between the brother and sister, the constant childish sniping back and forth, and I found it really incredibly irritating. The whole family relationship in this, I wanted to smack them both and lock them in a basement. So yeah, this book, the characters just didn't work for me. And this is definitely one that I'm not even going to attempt to go back to. I know this is, after I've done this video, this is going straight to the charity shop. And it's a shame because Grady Hendrix is interesting. He is very much hit or miss for me. Unfortunately, he's more miss than hit. So what I did when I didn't like this one was I kind of went back to all the books, because he's another one. I love the premise of the books, but then I read them and I'm like, And really the only one that I absolutely love is, The Haunting, My Best Friend's Exorcism. That one I love. And I love the kind of the TV adaptation or the film adaptation of that as well. My best Friend's Exorcism, and I did like Horror Store. And I think since then I didn't particularly like the Southern Vampires Slaying Guide, Southern Vampires one. Again, I wasn't into the characters, and I know that's a really unpopular opinion because a lot of people like that. And I just find that those are the only two I like. So he's got a new book coming out next year. It's about witches, but some of the kind of reviews that I've heard, people have liked it. But again, I feel like I need to just stay away. I need to learn when I just need to stay away, because for me, I honestly just want to read books that I like. If I can go through an entire year without DNFing a book or without not liking a book, that would be I'd be more than happy with that. I don't actively seek things I don't like. So I kind of feel like I just need to stay away from Grady Hendrix, because I think him and I are breaking up. The relationship's over. The next one, this was another DNF. And this is Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro. Now, I might try continuing in this because this is a vampire book, and it's from the perspective of a character. She's been living since like the 13th century. She's got like Aztec history, so it has Aztec mythology in it, Mexico. All of that is really interesting. But the actual present day storyline of this character, she goes to Ireland, she's looking for artifacts, which I do like. She's looking for artifacts from her heritage and kind of repatriate those artifacts. And then she goes to Ireland and she meets a guy and she sleeps with him. And it becomes, I wasn't into the spice. There were just elements that I wasn't into. And then also, as the storyline progressed, I just wasn't, I was really bored. Really just disinterested, really bored. Yeah. And it's a shame, because I really thought I was going to love this book. And I'm going to have to think on this one a little bit, because I feel like maybe I should just kind of continue, give it another 50 pages. I think I got to like a page 100 and, I gave it a good go, 177. And I'm like, do I just try and continue? But I just don't want to, at least not right now. So, we're going to see on that one. But now to a book that, and if you like this book, I apologize in advance, but I would burn this. This is a dumpster fire of a book for me, okay? So unfortunately, this is a collected volume of 3 novels by Richard Lehman. And again, I think this is the second time I've tried Richard Lehman, and this is a relationship that absolutely will end, has ended, will never be rekindled. So there's 3 books: The Cellar, The Beast House, and The Midnight Tour. And again, the premise sounded really good. So they're kind of interconnected. It talks about a house that has like a beast in it that's kind of like haunted. So I thought, this might be interesting to read. I'll get the omnibus. And in the first one, it says the cellar, the deeper the tourists go into the beast house, the darker their nightmares become. But the worst part is beneath the haunted structure. Don't even think about going into the cellar. Which sounded fantastic, right? What I got when I started reading this book was a storyline about a woman who is, her and her daughter have to suddenly leave their house and run away because they are running away from her ex-husband, who has just been released from jail. The reason he was in jail was he was a child rapist. And you realize that he abused his own daughter, his own young daughter, and he abused his wife as well. Which, that's not really a character I want to read much about, but okay. Unfortunately, on page, the first thing he does, he obviously is going after his wife, but the first thing he does when he leaves jail is he goes and he finds himself a child and takes this child with him. And when I say child, I'm talking about a young child. And that is one of the things, if you want to, I can't. And it's on page what he does to the child. And that made me actually throw up in my mouth. I mean, I was sick reading it. I could barely read through it. And it's written in a way, there's no real, it's just like there, right? And then what made me even more angry about this dumpster fire of a book is that the lead character, who is running away from this husband, whose child was abused, she gets to this town. The first thing she does is go into a bar, sees two guys, sleeps with one of these guys, and leaves her young daughter, who has already been abused by her husband, with one of the other guys. And there is this creepy scene where they're like on the beach and he's describing the daughter in the bathing suit. And to say this is disgusting, and no woman with a child would behave like that. So I don't know where the hell he's gotten that from, because if I'm a mother and my child's being abused and I'm running away from this man, believe me, the last thing I'm going to do is go befriend two random men in a town and then go and sleep with one of them and leave my child with the other one. It makes me so angry. Like, literally, I don't get this angry, but this is... Anyway, moving on. That's not even going to the charity shop. That's going in the bin. The next book... I need to breathe. Oh, hang on. Right, the next book. So, the next book here, A Certain Hunger, by Chelsea G. Summer. Again, I thought I was going to like this. So, this book is about a female serial killer, essentially, but she's also a food critic. So, I kind of thought this was a vampire book, but it's not really. I think there are probably there's most of, I guess, cannibalistic influences in it. But this book was another one where it just put me to sleep. And I've realized something. I'm not somebody who particularly likes reading food descriptions in books. There's a lot of food. I actually heard somebody talking about butter, which I'd also considered reading, and I'm definitely not picking up now, where she said that the endless descriptions of food were just not for her, and they're not for me. I mean, I have a very long standing battle with eating disorders throughout my whole... I've never met an eating disorder I didn't like. I tried all of them. I've been through all of them. So in a way, I would say it's triggering, but it's not really. I can read books about eating disorders, but reading a book about... She constantly goes on about the food, then she goes about the men she slept, and then she kills them. And I just found it incredibly boring. And again, bless you if you like it. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with it, but I was just bored by it, not like the Richard Lehman book. It just doesn't deserve burning. It wasn't for me. It bored me, and I definitely won't read butter. Then, oh god, this book, The Great Wen by Alan Moore. Beautiful book, lovely edition. This is unreadable. This is quite frankly unreadable. I mean, I read some of the passages and some of the descriptions in here. This man writes like he's on drugs. I feel like he may be on drugs. Well, I'm just trying to find another passage in here, but it's just tripping and swearing on the features raised brick edging. I swear, it makes no sense. Comment if you've read this and if you can actually make sense of this book. But this is the most frustrating thing. I just do not understand how this has been published with the writing the way it is. And again, maybe it would appeal to some people. And I love beautiful writing. I love poetic writing. I love descriptive writing. I don't understand what's going on in this book. I don't understand the writing. It's bizarre. Like I said, it reads like someone was high and drunk and possibly smacked their head and then wrote a book. I don't understand. I don't understand this book. It's a lovely copy, but it's also going to the charity shop. So if you're in Brighton, there you go. Another book that was very disappointing. This is Private Rights by Julia Armfield. Again, I have a signed copy of this book. I thought this was going to be great. So this is about three sisters, and they lose their father. And it's kind of a dystopian lit fic book set in a London where it's just been raining for years and years. And I thought that sounded really cool. But again, the overwhelming word, and I hate to say it again, but was boring. And I just didn't get the point of the book. Like, these three characters I found incredibly annoying. They're three sisters. Each one of them, you get chapters from each one of their perspectives. I didn't like any of their perspectives. I did really find them annoying as characters. But I can deal with that. I actually really like unlikable characters. These weren't unlikable, they were just annoying. But as long as the storyline is good, there was nothing to the plot. I kept waiting for something to kick in, and it just didn't. And there was just no plot. And to me, again, I love a good character-driven book, so I can read a book. I love, some of my favourite books are just about the characters with no real plot. But then the characters have to be written well, or I have to connect with the characters. And then over here, if the characters aren't that great, but the plot's fantastic, I'm happy with that as well. If the plot drives it and it's fun and I'm having a good time. But this did neither for me. There was just no... meh, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really get it. And I even started, in the beginning, I started tabbing. She had some really, I mean, her writing is beautiful. There's some beautiful passages in the beginning of this book, but as I kind of got further, I was like, where are we going with it? Why? What was the point? What was the point of the book? So again, if you want a signed copy of that, go to your local charity shop in Brighton. Then this one is interesting because this is a reread. So this is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas, and I'm slowly kind of making my way through books that I really liked, you know, way back when, seeing if I feel the same way about it. And I'm going to do a whole series of videos next year on that, so watch out for that, because I think it's interesting to see if your taste has changed. This book, I remember giving it like 5 stars. I really loved it when I first read it. And I really love that kind of dark academia setting, that strange, something weird's going on at the school, investigating things. It's like my favorite thing. And I've read quite a few books this year, sort of like that. Ooh, sorry, my book pile just fell. So I thought, I'm going to get back into Catherine House. And upon reread, I was bored out of my mind. And I don't know if it's just that over the years I've read so many books that are similar to this that are just better. But what I didn't remember about this book was there's no plot. There's nothing happens. Nothing happens in this book. And the characters are not on reread compelling to me anymore, in the sense that I just love the characters. I get it. It's an interesting, weird kind of atmosphere. So you're in this sort of school and they're kind of controlling the people that go to the school, and they put like patches on their head, and it's almost like mind control, like cultish feel to it, which again sounds fantastic, but nothing happens. Nothing happens in this book. So upon reread, it was a massive letdown. And again, that's going straight to the charity shop. Another massive letdown of the year is Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. So I know in the beginning of this video I said I aim not to read books that I don't like, and this is teaching me a lot, because honestly, next year I don't want to be standing here with a whole pile of books going I didn't like them. I want to be saying I loved every single book I read. But this year, here we are. So Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. again, this sounded fantastic. So this was about vampires, but with interesting blood magic lore, has the most beautiful cover on the planet. Stunning cover. I really thought I was going to like this. Our main character is like she's a kind of like I was going to say like a royal almost. So she's from a rich family, and her family is part of these kind of ruling families of this world. But she's also sort of a secret rebel. And they're kind of fighting against the king. You know, there's different plots. There's also these kind of two men in her life. Neither of the romances were particularly compelling to me. The bad guy was very obvious to me as well. It wasn't much of it. The twists weren't very twisty. The beginning of this book is actually really good, but I think by the middle, it started to go downhill. And although I did finish it, and it was fine, this was not nowhere near, this was not a dumpster fire. It was just fine. It was like, that's fine. And this is the first book in a series, and I have so many books around me that I want to read, and I have so many series that I really enjoy, that just fine is just not going to be doing it for me anymore. So unfortunately, this is one that I didn't like, and I won't be continuing in. Then another book that was I know this is going to be really unpopular, and if you love it, you love it. I'm so happy for you. I'm glad you love it, because I have a beautiful copy of this book and I don't. So this is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. And again, I was so looking forward to this. This is dark academia, magic, female mage, kind of a lot of sort of feminist undertones, a lot of like class undertones as well, which I think is all very important. And I think that is definitely there, almost a little bit too much, like, you know, when the author's really telling you. But for me, the very first chapter I loved. I thought it was fantastic. And it then kind of just went nowhere for me. I DNF'd it halfway through. And so I've got that much left to go. This is not necessarily what I'm going to get rid of yet. I might go back and carry on reading or try it again and see if the end is any better for me. But I was really kind of skim reading. I was getting really bored. I don't like the main character. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not that I don't like her. It's just that I really struggle to connect with her. There was no emotional pull for me on the characters. And I found I don't like overly explained, mathematical, intricate magic systems and worlds at all. And this was that. So if you like that, you'll love this. But it was too overly explained for me. So the sections where they were kind of explaining the magic, I was really like literally just going, yeah, okay, can we carry on? And that to me is a book that's just not connecting with me as a reader. So sadly, this was a massive disappointment for me. But like I said, I'm not going to get rid of it right now. You never know. And then another massive disappointment for me was A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. Again, beautiful, beautiful book. And again, this is not a dumpster fire of a book, but I was left really disappointed. And that may be because I had high expectations for it as well. But it sounded, again, dark academia, kind of academic rivals. This is sapphic romance. They're going on this like journey adventure with a crew to find this magical spring, this origin of the magical spring for this world. There's all sorts of like cool creatures. One of them sort of studies like these fae creatures, which again was really, really cool. I loved, like, when I read the synopsis and the setup of this, I was so excited to go into this, right? But my problem with this was, again, I did not connect with any of the characters. The romance left me more than cold. But the reason I think that is that this should have been a duology, I think. We should have gotten what was being referenced in the beginning. These characters, we come into the story, apparently these characters will have all known each other for years. They fought in wars together. Our two main characters have been academic rivals. There's all this lore and history to what's been going on in this world, but you get none of it. You get told it a few times, but you don't see it. So for me, I could not form any real emotional connection. I didn't give a damn about these characters. I didn't give a damn whether they made it through this journey or not. because I just hadn't formed any connection to it. And I feel that that is for me, the problem of this book is that we should have seen it instead of being told that there was history, that there was relationships, that there was academic rivals, there was all this stuff, but we never saw it. We were just thrown into a part of the story. And then that part of the story wasn't that exciting either. So I just found it really, really disappointing. And then the last book that I found really disappointing is this. It's A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faizal. And again, I was really looking forward to this. So vampire book, there's some Arthurian legend in here. There's kind of like a heist type of gang scenario, so a little bit Six of Crows-y. This tea shop is a tea shop during the day and turns into like a blood den at night. There's a plot in the vampire underworld. This all sounded incredible, but there's something about, and I think with this one, it's the writing. I didn't enjoy the writing style. I found some of the writing, I couldn't connect with it. I found it odd. The characters, again, I did not connect to the characters. I think the basic story could have been fun, but because I wasn't enjoying the characters and the writing style was jarring with me, and I couldn't get into the story. And I don't know if I should give it a second chance, but at this point, I'm like, again, I've got so many books that I feel like I gave it a go. I know now to stay away from this author. I will not read any more books by her because for me, fundamentally, there was something about the writing style I didn't like. Or not didn't like, just didn't connect with. So that's that one. Tell me what you think. Let me know if you agree, disagree. And I will speak to you all very soon. Hopefully with a lot more positive. From now on, positivity all the way. I'll see you later. Bye.